This week in Counter-Strike, Vitality win the Grand Slam, there's some Astralis drama brewing, and my co-host is missing. So we're going to start by talking about Vitality winning the Grand Slam. Now, they're actually on quite a tear right now. They've won 21 series in a row, and we did previously talk about this in an episode, I think the first one that we did of This Week in Counter-Strike, and honestly, it's just nothing short of impressive. I don't think that anybody thought that Rob's joining Vitality would lead to an era, but this is... well, it's quite a good run of form going into the next couple of events, including the major. And there's really a discussion to be had here because ZywOo grabs his 23rd, I believe it, MVP, which puts him 2 over Simple, which I don't think a lot of people are ready to have this discussion. Is Simple still the GOAT? I mean, instinctively, you want to say yes, but to be honest, ZywOo has 1 Grand Slam, Simple has a Grand Slam, ZywOo has a major, and so does Simple. And then they both also, you know, if we look at the MVPs, ZywOo has more now. Now, of course, if Simple was still competing, it would probably be a little bit closer, but if he's not going to be competing anymore, I think there's definitely a discussion to be had if ZywOo has surpassed Simple, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comments below. With that being said, Vitality are playing some amazing CS recently, and I plan on doing a demo review on this channel of ZywOo, talking about how I think he might be the GOAT, so make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you can stay tuned for that. And transitioning into our next topic, we have Astralis, who have made 2 pretty interesting moves here. They have replaced Cadian with HooXi. Now, I didn't really think that we'd ever see the day that HooXi got picked up to another team, and I know Vu would probably make a joke about something around here. I'm not really sure, but either way, Cadian clearly has not been performing very well, and Astralis have missed their 5th major in a row because of this. It only makes sense. I think we talked about this last week. I mentioned that it doesn't make sense to take your opper, who's opt for so many years, as well as calling, and then just take him and make him only an IGL. It was just bound to fail, and I do like to see the direction Astralis is heading with picking up HooXi. I'm curious to see where Cadian will go, but with that being said, I'm curious to see where Astralis is going to go, because apparently, and this is a leak, Astralis is set to sell their entire team. I mean, I can't blame them. After missing 5 majors in a row, when they previously had won, I think, what was it, 3 or 4 in a 3 in a row, 4 in a row, or 4 total majors actually, but 3 in a row. I mean, of course, they're looking at the way out right now. Like, they have some of the best Danish talent in the world, and they're really getting nothing to show for it. And after investing in Device and investing in Cadian and Yabby and Stown, and you're not getting any majors, no sticker money either. Like, it doesn't really matter that they're showing up to all these events and doing all right. It's just not acceptable that they're not making the major. And if you saw how they didn't qualify to the last one, it's really just not a good sign of the times, to be honest. And, you know, it is a shame for Cadian. I feel like he's been tossed around from team to team recently. He's gone from Liquid to this Astralis roster to now he's missing again. And, you know, I'm sure we'll see him on a team shortly. Maybe he'll go to, oh, I don't know, maybe Furia, because they're making a lot of changes right now as well. I mean, if you haven't seen this new Furia roster, they have officially benched skullz, and they've picked up YEKINDAR. Well, they say that he's a stand-in, but I'm not so sure. Now, we did talk about this last week with Vu, and he said that it makes a lot of sense, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what Fur said just the other day. I think he said it today, actually, as of the time of recording, that there was a rumored super team that involved him, and the roster looked a little something like Simple and Perfecto and YEKINDAR. There will be a link to the article if you want to read what he said, but I think that that's kind of insane to think that Furia was thinking about going international to the point where they were going to pick up Simple and Perfecto. I mean, clearly that would have been quite the roster, and since they went international, I wonder if this is just their fallback plan. Picking up YEKINDAR might have always been a part of the plan, but Maladoy, I'm not so sure. Maybe Simple said no. Perfecto, he's a free agent, so I'm really not so sure what's going on with that, but that roster would have been... it would have been really exciting, and it's going to go down as one of the biggest what-ifs in Counter-Strike history, at least in my opinion, because if Simple would have came back with this roster, I think they could have done some damage, and then we could have that conversation that everybody's been wanting to have, is how would Simple be in CS2? Would he be able to compete with the likes of ZywOo and Donk and m0NESY? I'm not so sure, but again, another big what if. But what isn't a what if is that this video is actually sponsored.
Today's video is sponsored by Skin Club. Now, you must be over 18 before you play on the site, but if you are and you do decide to play, Skin Club is a site that has over 100 cases that you can choose to unbox. Now, you can either unbox them individually like we're doing on screen now, or if that's not your thing, you can actually put a bunch of cases into a case battle and play versus another player, where the winner gets to keep everything that was unboxed during the battle. And when it's all said and done, you can use the upgrader to take the skins that you got that you're not the biggest fan of and see if you can maybe get away with something better. And then once you finish, you can actually withdraw any skin that you want right onto your Steam account. If you decide to check out the site, make sure you guys use my link for a 7% deposit bonus. Just make sure that you play responsibly, and let's get right back into the video.
And with all that being said, it's time to talk about why my co-host is missing. Well, my co-host is actually traveling to an event, and I didn't want to miss the schedule, so I decided that I would just run this one by myself. And hopefully you guys don't mind a shorter episode. We still have more topics, but I just wanted to address that some point in the episode, just so that we all know he'll be back for next week. We miss him dearly. Can I get some I miss you voos in the comments? So moving on to the next one, we have NIP winning Fragadelphia Las Vegas. If you don't know what this event is, I don't blame you if you're from Europe, but in America, we have these events called Fragadelphia, and they're local lands that are put on by some great tournament organizers, and, well, they've gotten VRS approval, which has drawn the attention of some pretty big teams. For example, at this event, we were supposed to have Complexity and M80, NRG, NIP, and there was a bunch of teams that were coming here because they knew that if they won this event, it would put them pretty high in the rankings. NIP joined this event, and they won it with pretty much no drama. NRG was pretty close to taking the series from them, but they ended up choking that one. Really a tragedy for North America as a whole, because we've given up our first ever Fragadelphia to Europe. Not ideal, but either way, NIP see a pretty significant boost, by the way. Like, this is another one of those weird things that me and Vu have been talking about. The VRS it's odd. I mean, NIP winning this event has single-handedly taken them from ranked 88th in the VRS and one LAN win versus what you would deem almost nobody's, maybe NRG. It puts them up 49 spots to 39th in the VRS. Definitely a conversation to be had, but actually it could be a good thing in the long run, because if more attention on these local lands means that, at least in North America, if they're continued to be held here, that means that teams can continue to play against like NIP, and even though they're getting beat down, we don't get a lot of experience playing these top teams in America, or in North America, I should say. So having people come and fly to these events to compete, it's actually not a bad thing. And plus, if we are able to improve our VRS ranking just from having them here, it's just a net positive for the entire scene, at least in my opinion. It reminds me of the time a couple of years ago, the first Apex roster came to a Fragadelphia, and that was the one roster with Shocks, and JL was on that roster. It was his first team, and well, one of his first teams, I should say. And jkaem was on that roster. And jkaem, of course, you know, he's been through it recently. We saw the gambling scandal, but recently, actually, BC.GAME has decided to just bench him from the roster. There was a lot that came out this last week. There was a leaked passport and supposedly $300,000 in owed fines with jkaem. It just seems to be getting worse for him, and now he's lost his job. So it doesn't look like we're making any progress, but I did just want to include that one in there because I think it's just really a shame. It was a little curious, though, to be completely honest, to have him stay on a team sponsored by a casino when he was the one that was borrowing stuff and then gambling. I don't know. It was always a weird thing, but I guess it's good that he's not playing anymore. I don't really know enough about this to give a full expert opinion, but either way, that did happen. And last, we have some NA news. I just wanted to say congratulations to my teammate Cooper. Cooper TV just recently had his kids, so he's going to be taking a break from Mythic. If you guys don't know, I actually play on Team Mythic with Flom, and we stream some games over there every week. You can come check us out sometime. I will have my Twitch linked in the description or right here. You can come watch a stream sometime, ask me some questions, and keep up on the news. And to close out this week, we have some more NA news, which is actually a little surprising. autimatic has officially quit Counter-Strike again, but not for Valorant this time. This time for golf. You know, I can't blame him. You know, we always tell people, hey, if you can get away from CS and you don't have to worry about anything, you should, because the game sometimes it's not so good on your mental health. And he talked about it in a recent video. If you want to go learn more about autimatic's move to professional, I don't know if it's professional, but golf in general, you can go click the link in the description to the Dust 2 article and maybe find his video there as well. But with that being said, that is all for this week in Counter-Strike, and hopefully next week we'll have Vu back. Thank you guys. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you leave a like, and that's it. Bye-bye.